Hello, I'm Joel.
And I'm Alex. Welcome to the Commander's Journey.
The place where we discuss our favorite format of Magic, Commander, from the perspective of a new player.
And an experienced one.
And this journey is for new Magic players who are interested in Commander. So today, we are doing another deck tech.
Gotcha. And this is a fun one for me personally. This is an actual deck I own. And we literally, I said, let's just do a deck tech of one I had. We did one of Joel's decks. Now we're doing one of mine.
I think that's really cool and really fun is, there's a lot of awesome material online of different decks and different deck techs. And we want to do deck techs on decks. We just did one on Uro on cards that are just coming out, commanders, and things that are just really awesome. But we also want to do deck techs on decks we built ourselves and we play ourselves and absolutely love. And today's deck tech is on Varina, Lich Queen. Why don't you read that? This is your deck.
Sounds good. For 1 white, blue, black, she's legendary creature, zombie wizard. Whenever you attack with one or more zombies, draw that many cards, then discard that many cards. You gain that much life. And then for 2 and exile 2 cards from your graveyard, you can create a tapped 2/2 black zombie creature token. She's a 4/4. So. Why'd I pick Varina? The quick answer is that I was really on the fence between her and another card that's actually in the deck, Gisa and Giralf. And I couldn't decide if I wanted to go with something slightly less synergistic for what I had in mind, but losing a color or gain a color, and then do something that's a little more off the cuff. And I decided to pick Varina because, especially at the time period, she was new.
Okay, well, let me just read Gisa and Giralf. It's 2, a blue and a black for legendary creature human wizard. When Gisa and Giralf enter the battlefield, put the top 4 cards of your library into your graveyard. During each of your turns, you may cast a zombie creature card from your graveyard. So there's a similar type of effect going on, but you're right, you don't get that extra color, and you don't always get that. You don't get those 2/2 black zombies either.
Well, exactly, and basically, Varina does a better job of filling up your graveyard, where Gisa and Giralf are a better job at recursion from your graveyard. But they do have the downside too of they lose color, and there is something to be said of the fact they are not a zombie themselves, because this is a zombie deck. Zombie
Yes.
Tribal
Actually,
to the nines.
All zombies.
All zombies all the time.
This is all zombie deck. Pretty awesome.
It's I basically I could not decide when I was building this deck, Joel, between going, more of the interesting zombies, specific zombie cards kind of route, or if I was going to go instead with the more token based 2/2 zombies. So I kind of did a mixture of both and found a way to make it work.
Yeah, and I can attest from playing this, playing against this, that if you kind of ignore it and it gets going and it gets the fuel it needs, it is really, really hard to stop.
And because I don't have tutors, so that might make it a little better. It either has like this thing where sometimes it's a little slower to get going, but sometimes I just have explosive starts, and I kind of have to decide to myself, do I want to go all out opening move and become the target, or hold back a little bit?
Yeah, because this thing can go wide real fast too, as you'll find out as we go through each of these cards.
And that's its main win con, is the fact that it goes wide, usually with zombie tokens or specific zombie cards, but a lot of intermixing between the two. That's basically what the deck is trying to do, is overwhelm with zombies. And the other thing is recursion is always an option. You're always, I'm looking at that recursion. It's something that's in my mind all the time.
Well, I love that its win con is overwhelmed by zombies, because that's what you see in every zombie movie. It's like you're running away from a zombie, you're killing it, and the next thing you know, there's 2 zombies coming at you. Then there's 3, and before you know it, you're backed into a corner, and you can't get away from the zombies.
What I love about this, and this is one of the
It's a
big
true zombie deck.
Exactly, right? One of the big upsides about the deck specifically is it's hard to deal with. You can't really board wipe it. You have to, the classic one is someone board wipes, everyone's starting from square one again. And I am sitting there and I get all my stuff out like I never even board wipe, and it barely cost me a thing. Sometimes I didn't even spend mana to do anything. I just kind of, used a couple workarounds here or there, maybe spent a little mana, and I'm back right where I was.
There you go. Let's talk about some of these cards and some of the awesome synergies that these have, because these cards that you pulled out for to talk about, these are the main cards that will really make your deck powerful.
So first I want to start with, you're looking at your synergistic game plan. Let's bring up a card that will really help bring stuff out of the graveyard. And that's Haven Ghoul Lich. It's 3 blue-black for a creature zombie wizard. For 1 generic mana, you may cast target creature card from a graveyard this turn. When you cast that card, Haven Ghoul Lich gains all activated abilities of that card until end of turn. It's a 4/4. So not only can I cast anything in my graveyard, which is usually what I go after, but if I want to, I can cast stuff from other players' graveyards too. And then Haven Ghoul Lich becomes a copy of that as well as I get the card.
That's pretty nasty. So you can steal it and you can make the copy.
Yep. And it's still the end of turn, but that's powerful.
There you go. There you go. Another really synergistic card is Vengeful Pharaoh.
Yes.
2 black, black, black. It's a creature zombie with Death Touch. Whenever combat damage is dealt to you or a planeswalker you control, if Vengeful Pharaoh is in your graveyard, destroy target attacking creature, then put Vengeful Pharaoh on top of your library. And it's a 5/4. So this thing just recurs itself anytime somebody targets you and starts attacking you. Basically, this thing just comes right back to life.
It's removal. It goes right back on the top of your library. And what's nice about Varina specifically is if Varina's out, I can attack with the zombie. It's in my hand. I chuck it into my graveyard. Now I have that protection. And then, let's say it dies by using its effect. It goes on the top of the library again. I draw it at the beginning of the turn. And then sure enough, I just chuck it away with Varina again. And I'm like protected from attacks.
You just keep chucking Vengeful Pharaoh back into your graveyard to protect yourself from attacks.
It's fantastic.
I see what you're doing here.
And I try to play it cool. Like some people will try to hide Vengeful Pharaoh or something. I tell everyone flat out, just so everyone knows, I just put Vengeful Pharaoh into my graveyard. That means when you attack me, you're going to lose a creature. And which also I think helps, though. It's like a little bit of politicking, too. I don't mean it to be that, but it does let everyone know, hey, this is something you probably don't want to attack me.
Yeah, well, it's just great for zombie travel because it's very, very on point. You go to the graveyard, come back out from the grave to kill your thing, go back into the graveyard, come back out to kill your thing. It's very zombie-esque. Very zombie-esque.
So another powerful card, and I'm actually going to talk about 2 cards here because they have a bit of synergy, and both work by themselves great in the deck, but are even better when together. And that is the combination of Zombie Master and Urborg Tome of Yawgmoth.
Oh, yeah.
So Urborg is a very popular card in our format. I'm just going to quickly read it for those who don't know. It's a legendary land that says each land is a swamp in addition to its other island types. So that goes for you, that goes for your opponents. Everything's a swamp, which can be useful. It lets you, black mana isn't such a big deal in this, especially with Vengeful Pharaoh, has a lot of black pips in it.
Yes.
That's useful. But the main thing, which is kind of a nice little combo we got here, is also Zombie Master, which is 1 black and a black for a creature, Zombie Lord. It says all zombies gain, for a black mana, regenerate this creature and Swamp Walk. It's a 2/3.
Oh.
That's
So
Swamp Walk.
you just gave all your zombies in your deck Swamp Walk?
Yep, and everything's a swamp now. All your opponent's stuffs are swamps. Every zombie you have just became unblockable.
And you can just, for 1 black, regenerate any zombie that dies at any time.
It's it's an unending.
Can you regenerate the cards you throw away too?
Well, you can't discard. Again, with regenerate, it's like having a shield over your thing when they would die.
So if it would die, I'm just going to regenerate for 1 black.
Exactly. So if I want to keep a zombie,
every one of your lands is a black now too.
Yes, exactly.
Because of Urborg.
It's such good synergy. Such good synergy.
So the next card here, Endless Ranks of the Dead. 2 a black and a black for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, put X 2/2 black zombie creature tokens onto the battlefield, where X is half the number of zombies you control, rounded up. So if you have 4 zombies, that would be 2. Just at the beginning of your upkeep, you just put 2/2 black, and then you would have 6 the next time around, right? So then that would be 3.
Yep.
And then that would make 9, and the next time around that would be 4 or 5 because you're rounding up.
It just gets worse and worse and worse.
And it's an enchantment, so it's not always easy to deal with enchantments. So that's a really good card too. Very synergistic for this deck.
Oh, exactly. And again, it counts the number of zombies I have. My commander is a zombie. This deck makes so many zombie tokens. Just by accident. That it really eventually, what I treat it as, because most people will try to keep your zombies in check because if they don't, you'll kind of just win the game outright. But I usually look at it like pretty much every turn, depending on how I'm doing, it's making a free extra zombie or two every turn, which is nice.
Nice. Very nice.
Another one that I want to talk about too is a card that is newer that came out that I immediately threw in the deck. It was too good. Speaking of free zombies, this card is Field of the Dead.
Oh yeah.
Field of the Dead, it's
Free
battlefield
zombies.
tapped.
You
It's
want
a
a zombie
land.
here? You can have one.
Tap for a single colorless mana. Whenever Field of the Dead or another land enters the battlefield under your control, if you control 7 or more lands with different names, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. And that is not hard to hit.
Not in
this line,
Commander,
this deck.
for sure.
And this deck, too, has a lot of variety. I have a lot of lands that hit for double colors that are unique lands. I have a lot of, utility lands in the deck. And, just the fact it's a 3-color deck really helps that out, too.
Yeah, and Field of the Dead can be really nasty in a lot of decks, but especially this one, just because it's all zombie synergistic too. So that, and all these synergy cards we're talking about, I think that's one. It's a really cool way to make a deck very powerful and go wide, especially a go wide deck. Is all these cards are so synergistic that no matter what card you bring out, you're going to have some sort of synergy going on with another card you're about to bring out.
Yeah.
So that makes it a lot of fun to play. Field of the Dead is just. I mean, land removal is mostly frowned upon. So sometimes it might be good to have that single target land removal or that permanent removal for a situation like that just can get out of hand if you need to deal with it on the other end of the board.
It just gets too powerful. And so there's one last card, too, I want to talk about specifically that really work with Varina especially. That's another newer one as well. I think I actually honestly had them about the same time.
Ninja.
It's the Ninja. Fallen Shinobi. 3 blue and a black for a creature zombie ninja. It has ninjutsu for 2 blue and a black, which says, I may return an unblocked attacker I control to my hand. I put this on the battlefield in my hand tapped and attacking. But the main thing is whenever Fallen Shinobi deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles the top 2 cards of their library. Until end of turn, you may play those cards without paying their mana cost. It's a 5/4.
That's pretty nice. Another thief in your zombie deck.
Well, it's nice too because often, whatever you deal damage to, you get to play something for free, and especially if you're aiming at the right person, and often you want to aim at the person who's moving the slowest because they'll have both the biggest things and they're most likely not to block it. And the main one you would go with, and I've done this combo quite a number of times in our games, is I attack with Varina. She gets her attack trigger, so I can draw cards, gain life, go that route. And then if she's unblocked, like I'm attacking, maybe on curve at turn 4, someone who has a more of a high CMC deck, someone who's having a slow start, I can jump in with Fallen Shinobi, have it take Varina's place, and sure enough, I'm out and swing as well with Fallen Shinobi. So not only do I get Varina's trigger, but then Fallen Shinobi comes in and I get his trigger as well.
That's pretty nasty.
It's a powerful little combo there.
Yep, the ninja strikes again. And then another. This is a synergistic card too, right?
Oh, yes.
You want to talk about this one?
Sure. This one is Lord of the Accursed. It's 2 and a black for a creature zombie. Other zombies you control get +1/+1. There's a lot of anthem effects in my deck. Effects that pump up all my creatures, Lord effects. But this one has a little bit of upside too. For 1 and a black and tap it, all zombies I control gain menace until end of turn. It's a 2/3. And there's nothing quite like a bunch of zombie tokens that have menace, though, I'll tell you that.
Not at all. Yeah, because especially if you have a ton of those tokens out, it's now you got to get blocked by 2. Each zombie's got to get blocked twice.
It's a lot easier to punch through when you're going wide, that's for sure.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of the synergistic cards. So also for the game plan, but we want to talk about some of the synergistic ramp cards in this deck as well. This one especially, and you don't realize how powerful it is until you play a zombie deck. It's Rooftop Storm for 5 and a blue, so it does cost 6 mana. But just wait. It's an enchantment. You may pay 0 rather than pay the mana cost for zombie creature spells you cast.
And that's scary.
I I just wish they had one of these for like every single type of tribe. You can pay 0 rather. So that means if you got like 6 zombies in your hand, so you play Rooftop Storm for 5 and a blue, and then you got 6 zombies in your hand, you could just throw all 6 of them on the battlefield for free.
And you didn't have to do a thing. It's straightforward. What's also really powerful too, it's a great way to rebuild after a board wipe, because this thing has a deck has a lot of ways to pull stuff out of my graveyard and cast things out of my graveyard. With Rooftop Storm, I can cast all that stuff for free.
Yep.
And rebuild.
It doesn't matter if you're casting from your hand or from. And I saw you do that a few times. We were playing a 3-person commander.
Yes,
Remember
yes.
that? We got wiped a few times, and you came back like 2 or 3 times real fast.
I literally next turn I was back
You
to
were
where I
back
was
to having
right
like
before
4
the
or
board
5
wipe.
cards on the field. I was like, how did you get? Oh, Rooftop Storm. We had. Next time we board wipe, let's get rid of that first, then let's board wipe.
But it's another piece, and they have to aim at your enchantment, and that is a powerful one. But again, they got to deal with something.
I would almost say this might be the most powerful card in your deck.
It is scary.
It
that's
is
for sure.
because like if you have, so I was just goldfishing this. I didn't get a chance to really play your deck very much, but I put the deck on Cockatrice, and I was just goldfishing it, and I had Rooftop Storm out and Vanquisher's Banner out, and I realized with those 2 cards, I was getting a ton of card draw and just dropping it. Because Vanquisher's Banner is 5 generic mana for an artifact. As Vanquisher's Banner enters the battlefield, you choose a creature type, and of course here you choose zombies. And creatures you control, the chosen type, get +1/+1. There's another one of your Anthem effects. And then the last part of the text says, whenever you cast a creature spell of the chosen type, you draw a card. So if you got Rooftop Storm out, and you have, say, 4 zombies in your hand, which is realistic in a zombie deck. You drop a zombie, you draw another card. You drop all 4 zombies, you draw 4 more cards. Maybe you draw 3 more zombies.
Yep.
I drop those 3 zombies, you draw 3 more cards. Maybe you drop 2 more zombies. I mean, between those 2 cards when they were out together, I was realizing, dude, I could just draw so many cards and drop. And then I caught myself saying, hey, maybe I want to keep a few of these zombies in my hand.
Yep.
I was only goldfishing, but like in case somebody wants to wipe it.
That's what I'm saying. And what's nice about this deck, again, this is one of the things, again, you have a natural protection against board wipe removal, because you're okay with your stuff going to the graveyard. It does not affect you the same way it affects everyone else at the table.
So if somebody had a lot of graveyard hate, they're playing a lot of graveyard hate. Say they had somebody randomly had brought a Kanoros deck or something like that to the table, then you would be in for it.
Well, you know, you definitely would get hosed, and that is we'll jump ahead a little bit. You know, that's one of the things that we want to bring up is that I did built-in weaknesses. I purposely did not have too much stuff to combat graveyard hate, and even then, there's not a whole lot I would put in the deck because it would start messing with the synergy to the point where if you aim at my graveyard, I am a little on the weaker side with this.
Yeah, and there's so many ways to deal with graveyards. I mean, there's lands that come in and deal with graveyards. I'm thinking of Bajuka Bog. There's also, artifacts that can tap and get rid of graveyards. And there's I don't know. There's probably some creatures or other ways to get rid of graveyards.
There's a lot of there's a variety, and they're only printing more in the last couple of years too, because they realize that needs to be kept in check. A good graveyard deck is hard to deal with, like my deck right here.
Yes.
So we can jump ahead to the best synergistic card draw cards. There's one I want to point out really in particular. Joel brought up Vanquisher's Banner, but the one that I think is the scariest by far.
Yes.
And I've accidentally drawn, like I literally play it, and then all of a sudden I'm like, wow, I drew 16 cards this turn, 18 cards. I'm sitting there and it's ridiculous. And that card is Kindred Discovery. It was from the Commander 2017 ones, if I remember right, decks. It's 3 generic mana, a blue and a blue for an enchantment. As Kindred Discovery enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Of course, we'd pick zombies. Whenever a creature you control of the chosen type enters the battlefield or attacks, draw a card. The main thing I want to point out here is the enters the battlefield. So unlike Vanquisher's Banner, which only works on the cast, these will be affected by your token makers.
Everything that drops a token in there, as soon as it enters, you get another. And the attack trigger.
Exactly. So you get the attack triggers, which is just icing on the cake. It's the enters the battlefield trigger for me, because so much of this deck just accidentally makes tokens.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, a little extra
I don't
bonus.
think it was
here's a
by
token.
accident.
No,
It's actually printed on the card, Alex. You actually put it in your deck.
Unintentionally, you're like, I'll play this card for this reason, but also it makes a token, that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, that's pretty scary, and that's really good for a lot of different tribal decks right there. Especially if you have any, where you just because that particular creature type, it's on attack and it's on enter the battlefield.
I did not realize how scary this card was because I haven't dealt with too many tribal decks that had blue in it, so I haven't run into it too often. Maybe I did once or twice, and I honestly don't remember. Maybe they never got the card out. Yeah. But then I put it in the deck thinking, well, this will synergize well, and all of a sudden it explodes in power to the point where I'm like, I see why it's now like a $20 card.
Nice.
It's so good. It is scary how powerful it is.
Yeah, if you got like a Merfolk deck or something like that, anything that's got blue in it, like that could be an extremely good card draw spell.
I highly recommend if you have a tribal deck in blue, Kindred Discovery is worth the price tag.
Oh, another one. This is another one of my favorite cards, especially for card draw. It's Liliana Dreadhorde General. She's a Planeswalker, 4 black and a black for legendary Planeswalker, Liliana. Whenever a creature you control dies, draw a card. For +1, you create a 2/2 black zombie creature token.
There it is, right there. An accidental black zombie, just a tick up.
Just an accident. For -4, each player sacrifices 2 creatures. Oh, wait, I got a bunch of zombies I can sacrifice.
Yep.
For -9, each opponent chooses a permanent they control of each permanent type and sacrifices the rest. So, but the real awesome part about this Liliana, this Planeswalker, as a lot of the different Planeswalkers from War of the Spark, is the static ability that's on her. Is this whenever a creature you control dies, draw a card. It's just insane because you're swinging out. Your zombies are going to get chump blocked or blocked because, if you're swinging with a bunch of zombies, nobody's going to want to take all that damage. Cards are going to die. You're going to draw cards. You're going to keep making zombies.
And again, the zombie tokens die. They hit the graveyard, and then the state-based action makes them go away. They do die as well. So if you attack with like 8 zombie tokens, they block all of them. All of a sudden, you drew 8 cards, and you could care less whether you had those tokens or not. If you made it through, that made it worth it.
If you're in black and you're dealing with anything that deals with death, Liliana Dreadhorde General is just awesome for drawing cards. She does a bunch of other stuff too. Making players sacrifice 2 creatures is nothing to scoff at. That is such a good effect.
It comes down, you can do it immediately, and she still has a little bit of health left too, or loyalty, I should say.
Yeah, you could do that right away, especially if it's early or mid-game and you get her out soon enough and people don't have very much on the battlefield, and you put her on -4 her, every player sacks 2 creatures, you're most likely sacking a zombie and maybe something halfway decent, but everybody else is sacking the majority of their board. Like, that's really awesome. And then, and I'm gonna draw cards off it too, by the way.
Oh, exactly right. It's very powerful. So the best synergistic single target removal in the deck. Now I have a lot of good black and white single target removal. That is nothing to scoff at. They're fantastic, not too synergistic though. They could go in any deck of that color. But I did pick out one card that would only work in this deck, and it's very powerful. Why don't you take this one?
I'll read this. It's Dark Salvation. So for X, and a black, it's a sorcery. A target player puts X 2/2 black zombie creature tokens onto the battlefield. Then up to 1 target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn for each zombie that player controls.
So you make a bunch of zombie tokens equal to X, and then a creature just gets -1/-1 for each zombie you control. That includes zombies you had beforehand. That includes zombies, all the zombies that you just made with token-wise. All of that gets aimed at one thing. So it's a removal spell that makes you a bunch of tokens.
Wow. So even if you can't spend a lot on this, even if you can only spend, say what? 2 on this, and you can only make 2 black zombie. But if you have a bunch of black zombies, you had 6 on the board. Plus that's 7. You just -7 somebody.
Exactly, and
somebody's creature,
and it gets around indestructible because it's a minus effect. It weakens them outright. This
is how you deal with the Eldrazi.
Right there. Well, exactly right. And Eldrazi's have such big bodies, you'd have to have a lot of zombies to deal with it. But boy,
you make a lot of zombies.
This deck makes a lot of zombies.
Zombies versus Eldrazi.
It is not. possible that you have on, turn 5 or 6, about 8 to 10 zombies out in play. And then, that's not even your main focus as building your board. You just get that when you're trying to do other things. That's what's nice about the deck.
Nice. Now, so there's a bunch of, like you said, in black and white, there's already a bunch of good single target removal. But it's nice when you build these decks to have that really cool synergistic one nobody's expecting. It's like, oh, where did that come from?
This is the only deck you can play that in and have it really be worth it too. So it worked out.
Pretty much. Anything like that. So some synergistic board wipes. Let's talk about some of those.
Sounds good. So again, all board wipes are good for the deck. I can build back off of board wipe situation, unlike any other deck that's probably in Plague. The one that does specifically aim at my opponents is another one from C17. It's Kindred Dominance. It's 5 black and a black for sorcery. Choose a creature type. Destroy all creatures that aren't of the chosen type. If I decide I want to do a one-sided board wipe and not even bother taking the time to rebuild my board, I can.
Okay, so board wipes in this deck can be very unfair because you're in white, black, and blue.
Yep.
So you already have access to 3 of the best board wipes in the game.
And I have them.
Was Wrath of God, Damnation, and Cyclonic Rift?
I have Cyclonic Rift. I don't have Wrath of God and Damnation. I have...
but there's still a lot
I have alternatives that I think honestly are better synergized with the deck. But boy, it's
plus the
scary.
Kindred Dominance. So between Cyclonic Rift and Kindred Dominance, you have 2 one-sided board wipes going on for you.
Already have that, and then I have all the non-sided boards. I did run a Merciless Eviction just in case.
Wake is also like a one-sided board wipe.
Yes, and that one works on anything, but it's very expensive mana-wise to cast.
It is 2 more mana, yes.
And so this is, and 7's a little on the high side, but it's a one-sided board wipe, which I think is useful.
But that's how much Cyclonic Rift is to pay that extra.
Well, yes, but again, in that scenario, again, it's fair, right? 7 mana, one-sided board wipe. I think that's worth the price.
If it's Cyclonic Rift, you can do it instant speed. So
that is the upside, yeah.
That makes it unfair.
Yeah, it's not a fair deal in the slightest. But yeah, the deck, it's you can bounce back in better than anyone else.
You have your basically when it comes to board wipes and single target removal, you have your choice when it comes to this deck.
This deck, based on the colors, you can pick whatever one you want and kind of do what you want. I know some of them too are just accidental board wipes, not the main focus, but they have a couple cards, like a couple Lilianas that I have in the deck, have that as an extra ability. Just rather useful to have.
Yeah, and we didn't not talking about all these different cards, but there are a lot of other cards I think you have in your deck too that like make all your zombies have like death touch or make all your zombies do different things.
Yeah, absolutely. I give
mess with your zombies.
All them keywords: hexproof, flying, death touch. We talked about menace and swamp walk.
Yeah,
my zombies have a lot of keywords on them.
Nice. So recursion. Let's talk about the best synergistic recursion and protection in the deck.
And they're kind of the same thing because this deck doesn't need to protect things the same way as you do most decks because it's all good if it hits the graveyard or not. Really, recursion, how easy it is to do is what I get at. Geese and Geralf was already a great example.
Yes.
Another one that's a fantastic card in the deck because it's so easy to bring back is Gravecrawler. It's a single block mana for a creature zombie. It can't block, but you may cast Gravecrawler from your graveyard as long as you control a zombie, and it's a 2/1. So as long as you have another zombie in play, you can cast Gravecrawler from your graveyard.
For 1 black mana.
Just a single
That's
block.
actually one of the cheapest recursion spells right there.
It's fantastic, and you literally can just, bring it right back like nothing ever happened. You didn't, send it away. And, it helps stuff like Ranks of the Undead or other things that care about, like Dark Salvation, that care about the number of zombies I have in play. It's an extra one that I can pretty much easily get back into play. And even though it can't block, I'm all good with it dying and sacrificing for it.
Did we talk about that card?
No, we did not. So another very synergistic one. This isn't really in our recursion and protection section, but one that works really well with Varina. Like a situation with Varina and Vengeful Pharaoh or Varina and Fallen Shinobi is Varina and From Under the Floorboards. Do you want to read this one?
Yeah, so From Under the Floorboards for 3 a black and a black, it's a sorcery. For its madness cost is X, a black and a black. And in the text says, put 3 2/2 black zombie creature tokens onto the battlefield tapped, and you gain 3 life. If from under the floorboards madness cost was paid, instead put X of those tokens onto the battlefield tapped, and you gain X life. And because of Varina, you're discarding cards a lot, right? So with
Exactly.
your commander, you can discard from under the floorboards and then pay its madness cost.
I have never cast that straight. I've always done the madness because it's so easy to just quickly do the madness cost. There's no extra thing around it. You're attacking with it anyway. Varina gets the trigger. Often you can draw cards and then make a bunch of tokens and gain some life for free.
Jeez, man.
Or
So
for the mana cost. You know,
yeah,
it's-
so for X you can make a bunch of tokens.
And go strong, go wide. It protects itself if someone ends up trying to get you to discard. That's one of the other powerful things about the deck too. You can discard. This deck is fine with it. Throw zombie cards in the graveyard. You know, I have that madness card. It does no big deal. If someone wants to mill you out, you have more cards in your graveyard. That only helps you.
Yeah, it's too bad Sir Conrad's not a zombie, or you might.
No, I would have definitely put Sir Conrad in the deck without
But
question.
he's not a zombie.
No, I feel like that was intentional.
And it doesn't say zombie. Like even G-Sync draw for not zombies, but it says zombies. Like every card in your deck is a zombie or says zombie. It's zombie synergistic.
I think Giesengerolf and Crypt Gas are the only two that don't. And Crypt Gas is in there as a ramp card.
Yeah.
It's not really a part of the strategy. I just need to make more mana.
This one needs. Okay, well, but the majority, 99%.
99%, yeah, absolutely. One of the other lands I want to talk, utility land that jumps out is Unholy Grotto. You can tap it for a colorless mana, or you may pay black and tap and put a zombie card from your graveyard on top of your library. If you're running out of ways to put zombies, getting back into play or recur them, maybe for some reason you haven't drawn those cards, you're having a little bit of trouble, I have land that can do it too, just in case.
Nice. Bunch of recursion in this deck.
Exactly, and it's repeatable.
Very repeatable is great. Here's another really good recursion card. It's Lord of the Undead. For 1 black and a black, it's a creature lord.
It's a zombie lord, actually.
It says creature lord.
This is because it was printed before they got the zombie.
It's a zombie
typing.
lord.
It's a
It
zombie
kind of
lord.
looks like a zombie.
Yeah, trust me on that.
All zombies get +1/+1, another anthem effect. And for 1 black and a black, you tap it and return target zombie card from your graveyard to your hand. He's a 2/2. So there's another way to get your zombies back.
Yep. And again, this deck has a lot of ways. Put them in your hand, put them back into play.
Put them on the top of your library.
There, no matter what, there's a way to get a zombie back, and it allows you to get around certain things too that can freeze up certain parts.
And
where
you
it's more
want that
useful.
because you're throwing a lot of zombies away with Varina.
Exactly,
Right? So you're going to want to have ways to bring them right back.
And you can do ways to make Varina more like just a card draw spell instead of a discarding card draw. You can do a lot of that kind of thing. So that pretty much sums up the deck. If someone did want to do like an easy upgrade to it, throw in some tutors. I don't have any because I don't like them, but that would be a strong way to upgrade it. Make sure you always get Urborg out for Field of the Dead, or for Rooftop Storm or Kindred Discovery. Some way that you force those out early would make it a lot more powerful.
Yeah, there's so many ways in this deck to get some really great card draw, get some really fast ramp, and like I said, if you ignore this deck too long, it can go off. Like it takes a minute to get going, and like you said, if you wanted to make it super, try and go up the competitive ladder, you add tutors or add ways to go find those pieces, like those Rooftop Storms or those Kindred Discoveries, those cards that are going to get you, or Vanquisher's Banner, those ways to get you a bunch of card draw real fast and a bunch of free zombies on the battlefield. But yeah, otherwise it already works super fast by itself.
And I really feel like if you add some tutors, maybe a little bit more graveyard protection in there, and then maybe even just a hair more ramp than I have, this deck can just be explosive consistently.
Yeah, you could do some more control because you're in blue too, so some counter spells, things like that.
And I have a couple counter spells. It's just they're not as synergistic. Again, they're just all counter spells.
So there you go, Varina Lich Queen. If you've ever wanted to build a zombie tribal deck, take a look at this deck that Alex built. It's really awesome. It's fun to play against. I'm looking forward to the next time we go have a commander night. I'm just going to take your deck and play it.
You feel free.
Because I
want to take a try at it, yeah.
I was messing with it on Cockatrice, and it's really fun. So anyway, thank you guys for listening. We hope you enjoyed. We hope you well, go build this, or maybe this will inspire you to build another deck you were thinking about building. But yeah, thanks again, and we'll talk to you next time.
See ya.